Hi, this is Ferris Jane. Today I'm talking to the lovely Andie Baron Tait about using EFT for your pets and for pet bereavement support. I was lucky enough to have Andie in my Golden Oldies Pet Love Challenge and to do a bit of work with her one-to-one. So, hello, Andie.
Hello, Ferris, again.
It's lovely to be talking with you today. So I just want to share a bit about who you are and the lovely picture behind you of your Billy. Can you tell us a little bit about Billy?
Yeah, Billy passed away when he was 17, so I had 17 lovely years with him. He wasn't a planned dog. We found him because a friend had the litter, so he came into our life in a bit of a flurry. He hadn't been thought about. And he was just the best companion. As soon as I had him, he came with me everywhere, came to my classes. I run a dancing school, so he's been a great companion for hundreds of children over the years.
Yeah.
Taken shows, been on stage, been in films, been on TV, a little bit of a celebrity.
Wow.
But possibly the very first day I had him, I dreaded the day when I wouldn't have him anymore. So I was really dreading this moment. And so bringing us up to date, meeting you and having you help me through his last few weeks was very special. And now, of course, now that I've lost him, he died on the 8th of December. So it's been just like now. But you've helped me so much. So I'm hoping this might help other people.
Yes. And I'm loving sharing your story because you've really embraced the EFT and using the EFT. Now, I know you did use EFT a little bit beforehand. So you were aware of it, weren't you, before doing the challenge and working with me?
Yes, I'm a great fan of EFT. I wouldn't say I was an expert. I've been helped by a friend who has done some with me. And, just before I met you, I was using it to kind of calm myself down a lot anyway with having an elderly dog. But then, of course, you put it into perspective and showed me how to use it properly. So it's been a lifesaver, and it still is a lifesaver in many aspects of my life, but particularly now I've lost him.
Yeah. And I know Billy's last month or maybe even more, it was quite challenging at times for you when he was getting elderly. Can you tell me just a little bit about that and then how you use the tapping with him?
Yes, I mean he'd for a couple of years now he'd lost his sight and his hearing. I don't know how much had gone and how much he had left, but he was quite a challenge anyway because he couldn't see and hear very well. He'd also broken his tail many years ago, so his little back legs were very weak as he got old. And then just before he passed away, I think he must have had a stroke because he lost the use of his front leg. But probably the most distressing thing was the dementia. He was very, very agitated during the night, crying, wouldn't settle. So possibly at the same time I did your Golden Oldie challenge, it was when I had had very, very little sleep because the night times were the worst, really. He used to sleep most of the day, but then night times he probably was a bit disorientated. So, you that because when he was bad in the night, I did tap on it and it just stopped me, noticing the noises and the movements that were coming from him and kind of calmed me down. So it was particular. I would say that possibly the dementia was the most distressing thing because he wasn't my little Billy anymore. He was this other dog. But I had been through a similar thing when my dad passed away. So it was a very, very, very similar, dementia, stroke, same as my dad. So although I'd had experience of it, it was even more distressing as a dog because the dog couldn't really tell you what's going on.
No,
I think he was a bit, but I'd say also your tapping, sorry, your tapping helped me, because I think my biggest concern was that I would have to have him put to sleep. I wanted anything to stop that happening. Sadly, in the end, he did, but you helped me deal with that and see that it was all right. And I actually felt like it was the best thing I could do for him at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, when he was put to sleep, he actually was asleep. I think his spirit had gone. So I think it was just academic, really. I think if I'd have left him another couple of days, he probably would have passed naturally. But, you know, you really helped me through dreadful fear of that. And it was nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be anyway.
I think we can make these things so big in our own heads, and the dread becomes so big that it sometimes takes somebody else coming in and doing the tapping or doing the inner work with you and just helping you change that perspective or come out of that sense of overwhelming dread where you can't see anything else.
Well, you're not in control of it, are you? It's you know, you have to make these decisions at a time when you're least able to make decisions like that.
Absolutely.
But no, it was fine in the end. It couldn't have been better. It could be better. He could still be here, but you know, the way it all happened couldn't have been better, really. But,
yeah, good. And I remember you saying in the challenge as well, I remember a lovely post from you where you said, I got my first good night's sleep in ages. I do remember that as well, that it did help you a bit with them actually being able to sleep, because he was a bit calmer some of those nights at least.
Yeah, they pick up on your feelings, don't they? And I guess he knew, not myself, because I was so angry about him. So he did pick up on that.
No, it's great. And I loved your feedback during the challenge of things like that, and the communication exercise, how you were able to tune in more to what he was liking at the time, so you were able to help him just that bit more.
Classic one was after I did that one. We did ruin him towards the end. We gave him chicken every day, and for some reason he was going off his chickens. So after I did that EFT about tuning in with him, I asked him what was wrong with the chicken, and he told me that he wanted a bit of cheese on it. So from then onwards, we had grated cheese on the chicken, and he wolfed it down. And he did tell me that he was, just when he was confused, I felt he didn't know what was going on. But then latterly, when I tuned into him, I think he knew it was the end of his life. I think he understood that it was time to go. Felt that very strongly. Which was boring.
And there's so much more in the moment and accepting of what is. And unlike us, who can't face things that will happen in the future, and so much emotion comes up around it, I really feel they just take everything in their stride and in the moment.
He made it very clear that he was ready to go, I think. When he did go, I felt that he just ran, you know. He I mean, I have spiritual beliefs anyway. And I felt very strongly, although dogs can't talk, that once he'd gone, he told me that, he said, I can see, I can hear, I can run. And that's what I feel, you know, it's back as he was, you know. So it's good that I've got those beliefs, because that also helps. But you know, I know not everyone does.
Absolutely. And at the same time, I know it is so hard. Well, I suppose you said even since you got him, you had been dreading that day, and you had been dreading losing him.
Yeah, he was so meant for me. He came into my life at a very bad time. My father had recently had a stroke, and I nursed him for 6 years, and then my mum had a stroke and passed away a year later. And Billy saw me through all of that, and you know, he was a real little light in my life, so I depended on him to keep me cheery. And you know, we've also had family problems recently, and I feel very much that he waited around until he knew I didn't need that support anymore. You know, it's coincidental that he did reach an age, but he he deteriorated very quickly since the summer, actually.
Right.
The last 6 months of his life, it really escalated. You know, I can look back to photos of him last year and he looked really bright and breezy. So I think it was fairly rapid, but maybe he thought, you know, I was okay.
Yeah.
But he's been a support to a lot of people. That's why he's missed so much. People. It was quite hard for me last week. I had to do quite a lot of tapping last week because it was my first week back to my dancing school after the Christmas break. And of course the children miss him because he was always there and they wanted to know about him. So it was quite hard for me getting through, you know, lots of tears with them. You know, if I felt upset in front of the children, I cried, but I felt like I needed to do a lot of tapping to give me strength to get through that. And I did. I've done my week now, so I'm back in harness, but it was particularly hard last week.
And I think it's good how you were using the tools of the tapping, and also you do some of the other things I recommend, like you have a good support system of people that you can talk to as well, which is really important.
I'm very, very lucky with my friends and family who supported me, because I think possibly, you know, I've got a friend who's got gorgeous cats and she adores her cats, but she loved Billy, and her concern for me was more worried about Billy dying than her cats, because she was worried about how I would deal with it. Because I am a worrier. I was soppy about Billy. I haven't had children, and he was my child replacement in a way. So I think there was a lot of people in my friend and family group who knew that one day they'd be concerned about me and would, you know, but they've been there. They still are there. A month later, I get texts every day from people and just to check I'm okay, which is, you know, there's nothing wrong in admitting that you're grieving a dog. I think a lot of people think they shouldn't. But, you know, I am grieving him as I did my parents. So it doesn't really make any difference with the loss, does it? It's
no, and it comes, you would never know how the grief will come or when it will come. As I spoke to you, sometimes a wave of it can catch you, and it's that thing of learning how to move through it. And I do think it's so good you have that support, because when I see people who don't have support and they're surrounded by people who don't understand, because for somebody who doesn't have that depth of unconditional love from their pet, who doesn't have that thing of they are like a fur baby, it is actually like losing a baby. You are never ready for that. If people aren't in that position, they don't have that special relationship with their pet, they have no comprehension of what it's like to lose that. And I see many people who are faced with going back out to a world that doesn't understand, and people telling them terrible things like just get another one, or oh you'll be all right. All that kind of thing is so hard sometimes to face people who just don't understand.
Exactly. No, totally. I think I'm just lucky that I know a lot of people who do understand and are just like me,
and
or
I
at least can. Yeah,
I do think that is a conscious decision you make as well, though, to surround yourself with good like-minded people. And I think that is so helpful for anybody who might be watching this who's going through the grieving process. If you have people around who really understand and support you, it makes such a big difference. And I think you should give yourself the credit. I think you set your life up in that way so you consciously have those people around you.
Yeah, I think I'm lucky, but I think also deep down that's happened over the years, and something to do with getting older, isn't it? You're a bit more selective who you spend time with, people who make you feel good, and you know. But it's I am lucky. I am aware of that. I can't imagine having gone through this on my own. And I've got a husband who's very similar to me, so sometimes that's a bit negative because we're both pathetic. But you know, we're grieving together, which helps as well.
Yes. And can I ask, how did you find the tapping helped when what I call those waves of emotion come, for when we were working together through it.
Yeah.
How did you find that helped as opposed to not having that tool?
Oh, I couldn't do without it. You know, I could be in a state of absolute floods of tears. I'd need to get over that before I could start tapping, obviously, because you know, but as soon as I tapped, I could take down that kind of, well, 10 out of 10 on the scale of grief. I could take it down to about a number 2 very quickly, because you focus your mind, don't you? And it's just accepting that these floods of, it's like a tsunami, it just knocks you over, doesn't it? You know, just accepting, well, that's going to happen. I either stand up and let it knock me down, or I go with it. And I think the tapping helps you go with it, because you're acknowledging the feelings that you've got, and you know, they're there. You can't just say, oh, I've got to get over this. It's
That's
acknowledging the way you're feeling. And
like I said,
it's just amazing. I cannot, you know, EFT in itself is good, but the EFT you've helped me with Billy has just got me through probably the worst few weeks of my life, really.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I know it's that thing when you're in the wave. It's just that how the EFT helps move that energy and move that emotion so it moves through. It's not, if anybody's watching this, it's not that you're suppressing or denying emotion. It's that way of letting it move through gently and gracefully and easily and less traumatically than it can be.
Well, that's exactly a description, isn't it? It goes through you instead of throwing you to the floor.
Yeah.
You know, it really does help. I can't recommend it enough, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody who needs help, you know, like you do. If I can talk to anybody, if anyone wants to contact me, I'd be more than happy to just, you know, you probably couldn't meet a more soppy person about their animal than me. You know, it's soppy to the point of being irritating. But you know, and you know, you got me through. I can't believe the coincidence of finding you. Well, it was about a month before he died, wasn't it?
Yes, and then I ran that challenge, so you were a part of the Golden Oldie Pet Love Challenge, where I showed EFT and other techniques to help people and their pets through those.
Yeah, anybody out there with an old dog, I would recommend doing that Golden Oldie thing with you, because
I will run it again.
You know, you do run it again, because you help me deal with, you know, it's so ridiculous, because you adore that little animal, but you feel guilty because you feel like you're not doing enough for that animal. And you know you are deep down, because you're done for it all its life. But you know, you help me deal with the guilt, you help me deal with the worry, just everything that comes with it. You made me see that it's normal to feel like that. But you know, and then particularly afterwards, it's been fantastic.
Thank you very much. And I will say, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is you're a great example of using the tools, actually taking them and using them day to day, and the difference that it makes when you're consistent and you keep going back to them, and you do work through that guilt, you do work through that grief, the real difference it can make. So if you had one final message for people watching this who have elderly pets and they're struggling, or whose pets have died and they're struggling, what would you recommend for them?
I'd recommend them getting in contact with you first and foremost, because you're just an angel.
Thank you.
And so maybe don't dismiss EFT. I can remember a long time ago when I did first of all hear about it. You do feel, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. But the wonders of the internet now, you know, look at your videos, and don't just do it once, do it lots of times, so that it becomes part of your life, because it is part of my life. You know, if I feel something welling up, you know, like if I'm sitting before the children arrive at dancing, I do some EFT to kind of calm me down and help me cope with it. And I was even talking about it with some children yesterday, because they've got a ballet exam coming up. And I said, well, look, I've done this to help me. I've done this to help me with Billy. I think we ought to start bringing it into our dancing, you know, part of warm up, if you like, to to
Yeah.
get us confident. And I just cannot recommend EFT enough. And it's helped me in many stages of my life. But this, with losing Billy, has been the reason I think that EFT was shown to me in the first place, because it's just got me through the worst time of my life. And
I'm so, yeah.
Can't recommend you enough, Ferris.
Thank you. And thank you ever so much for talking with me today. It's been lovely to hear your story and for you to share that and hopefully inspire other people to go out and use the tapping to help them through these painful times.
It's a lifesaver, in every aspect of your life.
Okay, thank you ever so much, Andie. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, and you, Ferris, thank you so much. I'll never stop thanking you.